Have you ever waited for a call that could change your life forever? What if I told you that call was never meant to come? Emma sat alone in her dimly lit room, curtains swaying with the storm outside. The sound of rain striking the glass felt almost deliberate, as if each drop were counting down to something she couldn't see. The glow of her phone screen illuminated her anxious face. Every few minutes she checked it, though she already knew what she would find. Silence. Her brother Noah had promised he would call. That was months ago. And then, without a trace, he vanished. Noah wasn't just her brother. He was her protector, her best friend, the one person who understood her better than anyone else. They had a bond forged in laughter and secrets and promises whispered under the covers as children. He always told her, "As long as I'm here, nothing can hurt you." But one day, he wasn't there anymore. The police said there was no evidence of foul play. Friends claimed they didn't know where he had gone. Even their parents, broken and quiet, eventually stopped hoping for answers. But Emma couldn't stop. She replayed the memory of his last words over and over in her head. "Don't worry, I'll call you tonight." That call never came. Weeks turned into months. Hope soured into fear. Fear hardened into guilt. Maybe she should have noticed the way his smile sometimes faltered. Maybe she should have asked why he stayed out so late. Maybe she should have demanded to know what was really going on in his life. Every night as the clock ticked toward midnight, Emma sat by the window with the phone in her hand, listening to the storm inside her own chest. And every night she told herself the same lie. Tonight he'll call. But on one particular stormy night, the impossible happened. The phone rang. Emma froze. Her breath caught in her throat. For a moment she thought she was dreaming, but no. The vibration, the light, the familiar ringtone. She looked at the screen. Her heart nearly stopped. It was Noah's number. The same number she had dialed hundreds of times, always unanswered. With trembling fingers she picked up. "Emma, don't look for me." It was his voice. Weak, broken, but unmistakable. She cried his name, begged him to tell her where he was. Was he hurt? Was he hiding? Did he need help? The line was filled with static, his voice barely cutting through. Then he whispered, "You'll understand when the clock strikes 12. And the line went dead. Emma dropped the phone. Midnight was minutes away. She could hear her own pulse louder than the storm outside. She ran through the house, opening doors, checking windows, searching for some clue. The storm howled, as if the world itself knew something was coming. When the clock struck 12, there was a sound. 3 knocks, slow, heavy, relentless. She hesitated, her hand hovering above the doorknob. With a trembling breath, she opened it. The doorway was empty. Only rain and wind, but on the ground there was a box, a small wooden box soaked through. Emma brought it inside. Inside was a note written in Noah's handwriting. "Some goodbyes are meant to protect you, forgive me." Tears blurred her vision. Inside the box were old photographs of their childhood, letters never sent, and a small recorder. With shaking hands, she pressed play. Noah's voice filled the room. He spoke of debts, of dangerous people, of choices he could never undo. He said he left because if he stayed, Emma would be in danger. "I chose to disappear," his voice cracked, "because your life matters more than mine." Emma fell to the floor, clutching the recorder. Her brother hadn't abandoned her. He had sacrificed himself. He had become a ghost, alive but unreachable. The next days were a blur of tears and determination. Emma read through the diary tucked at the bottom of the box. Every page was a breadcrumb. Places Noah had been, people he had met, warnings scribbled in haste. She tracked them down. Some gave her fragments of the truth. Others slammed their doors, whispering only one thing: "Don't get involved, it's not safe." Still, she couldn't stop. Every page brought her closer, but also deeper into shadows she didn't understand. She discovered Noah had enemies, people who wanted silence more than justice. She learned of deals gone wrong, of promises that had cost him more than he could pay. And always, between the lines, his love for her. Emma remembered flashbacks of their childhood. The time Noah shielded her from bullies, the time he stayed up all night helping her study, the way he always sat beside her at the edge of the bed promising, "No matter what happens, you'll never be alone." But now she was alone, and the phone never rang again. Still, every night at midnight, Emma sat by the window, phone in hand, waiting, not for the call itself, but for the feeling, the fragile hope that his voice might break through again, whispering from wherever he was hiding, "I'm still here, just not where you can see me." In the end, Emma finally understood. Love isn't only about being present. Sometimes love is the silence that protects us, the choice to disappear, the sacrifice no one sees. And as she pressed the recorder one last time, listening to her brother's fading voice, she realized something that shook her to her core. Some calls are never meant to come, because the message was already inside your heart all along.
The night was cold, and the station was nearly deserted. A thin fog drifted along the ground, curling between the metal tracks and swallowing the empty benches one by one. Overhead, the lamps flickered, buzzing softly, as if even the light was hesitant to exist. Somewhere in the distance, the faint cry of a train whistle broke the silence. Ethan stood alone on the platform. His coat collar was pulled tight, but the chill he felt wasn't from the cold. In his hand, he held a letter, worn, fragile, the ink slightly smeared as though touched by tears long ago. His thumb traced the edge of the paper again and again, as though memorizing every crease. The words of the letter repeated in his mind, circling endlessly. "Meet me at the last train. Midnight. Don't be late." It was impossible. She was gone. Claire had been gone for years. Yet the letter was real. He had unfolded it, touched it, read it under the dim lamp of his apartment until his eyes ached. It was her handwriting. He would have recognized it anywhere. Now, here he was, standing in a place that smelled of steel and smoke, a place where the past seemed to wait in the shadows. The rails beneath him began to tremble. A low hum crawled up through his shoes, into his bones, into his chest. His pulse raced to match it. The sound grew louder, closer. Then, piercing through the fog, a brilliant light appeared. The train was coming. Ethan's breath caught. His legs felt weak. He wanted to run, but his body held him rooted to the spot. The whistle shrieked. The engine roared as the train rushed into the station, sparks flying as the brakes screamed against the steel. The force of it pushed wind across the platform, lifting the edges of Ethan's coat, tossing his hair. With a hiss, the doors slid open. Warm yellow light spilled out into the cold night. And then, he saw her, Claire. She stood in the doorway, exactly as she had been the last night he saw her. Her hair fell over her shoulders, her eyes wide, filled with something between hope and fear. She hadn't aged a day. She hadn't changed at all. Time had not touched her. "Ethan," she whispered. The sound of his name was like a knife and a balm all at once. Her voice trembled, but it was real. Too real. "This is your chance." His heart shattered. His knees threatened to give way. He stumbled forward, the letter still clutched in his hand. "Claire," he breathed, his voice cracking. How? How is this possible? She only shook her head. Don't ask, just choose. But hurry, time doesn't wait. The platform flickered. For the briefest moment, Ethan thought he saw another place layered over this one. Shadows of people that weren't there, colors bending, the world trembling like glass. Then it snapped back, solid once more. The conductor leaned out. Last call, last train. His voice echoed like thunder, bouncing off the fog. Ethan's chest ached. His memories flooded him. Nights they had spent together, laughter under the stars, arguments that ended in silence. The final night when he had chosen his pride over forgiveness. He had walked away, and the accident had taken her before he could make it right. He reached toward her. Their hands were inches apart, but as his fingers brushed the air, another flicker struck the station. He saw not just Claire, but hundreds of moments splintering around him, as if reality itself warned him of the cost. Claire's eyes filled with desperation. If you step onto this train, things will change. But not just for us. Every choice has a price. Ethan froze. His mind screamed at him to run to her, to hold her, to never let her go again. But fear gnawed at him. What would he lose if he took this step? What would the world lose? And then he saw him. A child stood further down the platform, half hidden in the fog. A boy with wide, solemn eyes. He looked familiar, painfully familiar. The boy shook his head slowly, his gaze locked on Ethan. Ethan's breath caught. The child looked like him. Not just a little, exactly like him, years younger. A ghost of his own past, or perhaps a glimpse of a future that might never come. The sight pierced him with dread. Claire's voice broke through the silence. Ethan, please. The doors began to close. The hiss of the mechanism sounded final, merciless. His heart tore in two. Every muscle screamed to leap forward, to save her, to undo the pain that had haunted him every day since she was gone. But the boy's eyes held him in place, steady, unyielding. The doors slammed shut. The train jolted, wheels grinding as it pulled away, vanishing into the fog, taking Claire with it. The platform fell silent once more. Ethan collapsed to his knees, the letter slipping from his hand onto the cold ground. The ache in his chest was unbearable, a weight that crushed him. He had lost her again. But then, something changed. The letter on the ground shimmered faintly. Ethan picked it up with trembling fingers. The words were no longer the same. New ink had appeared, written in the same familiar hand. Some doors must stay closed. Some trains are not meant to be taken. Live with what you have. Love with the time you are given. His tears fell onto the page, but this time, a strange calm filled him. The ache was still there, sharp, raw, but alongside it was something softer, a quiet understanding. He whispered her name into the night, holding the letter against his chest, and though the fog pressed in around him, though the station was empty, he felt her presence, not in body, but in memory. Ethan stood slowly, wiping his eyes. He looked down the tracks where the train had disappeared and whispered, "I'll live, Claire. I'll carry you with me, always." And for the first time in years, he walked away from the platform not with regret, but with resolve. Because now he knew, not every mistake can be undone, not every second can be rewritten. But every heartbeat left is a chance to love, a chance to live. And sometimes the bravest choice is not stepping onto the train, but choosing to keep walking forward. If you had only one chance to go back in time, who would you save? Lucas sat alone in his room. The night was heavy with silence, the kind of silence that presses against your chest until it feels hard to breathe. Scattered across the table were photographs of his sister. Her smile was frozen forever in those pictures. Her laughter existed only as an echo in his memory. He traced her face with trembling fingers, his vision blurred by tears that never seemed to run out. The old clock on the table struck midnight. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Each sound cut through the room like a cruel reminder. Time never stops. Time never waits. And every second that passed reminded him of the truth he could not escape. She was gone. Lucas carried the weight of guilt every single day. He replayed that tragic accident in his mind again and again, like a broken record that would never stop. 1,000 times he tried to convince himself, there was nothing I could do. But deep down, in the quiet of the night, he knew the truth. He would give anything, his own life, his own future, just for one chance to change the past. His hand brushed against something different on the table. Buried under the photos and letters was an old clock. It was his sister's clock, the one she had always kept close. But now something was taped to the back of it. A note, faded with time, but still legible. It said, "Whoever controls time can correct the past." Lucas froze. His heart raced, pounding in his chest so hard it hurt. He whispered to himself, "This can't be real." Yet hope began to flicker in the dark corners of his mind. Could this really be possible? Could he go back? Could he save her? Fear tangled with desperation. His hands shook as he held the clock. For a long moment, he couldn't move. But then, taking a deep breath, he turned the clock's hands. A flash of blinding blue light exploded through the room. The air spun around him, filled with the roar of voices, echoes, and memories colliding. The world tilted, twisted, and then silence. When Lucas opened his eyes, his breath caught in his throat. He knew this place. He knew this moment. The day of the accident. The same sky above. The same streets alive with noise. The same second that had haunted him for years. His body trembled. He had dreamed of this chance 1,000 times. Now it was real, and he knew what he had to do. Lucas ran. His feet pounded against the pavement. His lungs screamed for air. The crowd was thick, the traffic relentless. He shouted her name, but the noise of the city swallowed his voice. Each step felt like he was running against the weight of the world. He stumbled. He pushed through strangers. A car screeched inches away. Horns blared. People cursed. It was as if time itself resisted him, throwing every obstacle in his path. His mind burned with fear. What if I don't reach her in time? What if I fail again? He pushed harder. His legs felt like fire. And then he saw her, just ahead, the exact spot where everything went wrong. His heart surged. He screamed her name again, louder this time, tearing his throat. She turned. Her eyes widened. Lucas lunged forward, grabbing her arm and pulling her back just as the accident unfolded before them. Metal crashed. Tires screeched. But she was alive. She was safe in his arms. For one glorious moment, Lucas felt the weight of the world lift. He had done it. He had saved her. His heart burst with relief and joy. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, "I got you. You're safe." But then, something shifted. The street didn't look the same. The people around him didn't behave the same. A friend who should have been safe was suddenly in danger. A stranger stumbled into the path of chaos. Events twisted. Reality bent. The world began to ripple like glass under pressure. Lucas looked around in horror. By saving her, he had changed everything else. The chain reaction spread fast. Lives unraveling, destinies colliding, consequences he could not control. His joy crumbled into dread. He held his sister's hand tighter, staring into her eyes. She was alive. She was right there. But around them, the world was breaking. In that moment, Lucas understood the harshest truth of all. Changing the past does not guarantee happiness. Sometimes, the only path forward is acceptance. His chest ached. His soul screamed. But he knew what he had to do. With tears pouring down his face, he turned the clock once more. The blue light returned. The world spun violently, and in an instant, she was gone. He was back in his room, alone. The silence heavier than ever, but this time something inside him had shifted. He no longer stared at the photographs with only guilt. He looked at them with gratitude, with love, with memory. Lucas smiled through his tears, whispering softly, "I'll carry you with me, always." And at last, he understood. In the end, it doesn't matter how much time we have, but how we choose to use it.